guys, it's Fronica here, and this is Aussies Do Down Under Homeschool season, and today I'm going to be doing a 2019 year in review, but with a little bit of a twist. I'm going to take everything out of my closet. As I do, I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown, bit of a review, what I've liked, what I didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, my favorites maybe. Then at the end of the episode, I'm going to have a nice clean homeschool closet for 2020. And everything that I'm not going to use is going to be here, and I'll work out what I'm doing with it. It's going to be a big episode, so let's get started. So, hey guys, with 2020 just around the corner literally, I thought it would be a good opportunity to sort of do a bit of a stock take of my homeschool closet, because even though I've only been in this house for 3 months, I think, 4 months almost, it's sort of gotten away from me. Good time of year to do a bit of a run through, clean out of the homeschool closet. But before I do, I just wanted to welcome all my new subscribers. Hey, how you doing? Nice to have you on board. And if you haven't yet, or you're new here, please consider subscribing down below, click that button. But let's get started on this kind of 2019 year in review, clean out, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a big episode. I think it's a great opportunity, like I said, to clean everything out and work out what you're going to start your new year with. Now, I know in other countries, you're only halfway through your homeschool year. In Australia, we are at the end of a year. My kids both just finished grade 6. They're going to start grade 7 next year. So I sort of want to get everything in order and get rid of stuff that I'm not using, because it clutters the mind and it makes it harder to teach if you're not more organized. So great time to organize now while I have the time. I thought what I'd do is I would pull things out, and if there's something I wanted to talk about or that I felt necessary, then I would let you know. I've set up the table. I'm going to make a stay, go, and a maybe pile. And that way I'm only going to put back the stuff that's staying, and the rest of it I'm going to work out what I'm doing with it. Now, just before I start, I wanted to note something important. When I'm talking about these things and I'm explaining why or why it didn't work, that doesn't mean it's going to work or not work for you. So you really have to decide on your circumstances, what your kids' needs are, to know if it's going to work for you. My kids are very different to yours. For me, it's just giving you my opinion based on what we needed it for, what our needs are, and whether it worked for us. So I really encourage you to not just take my review, for instance, or anyone else's for that matter on YouTube, because it's all based on their personal experience. I am, again, not affiliated with any of these guys. Just take this as a sort of getting to know the product a little bit better, and you might decide, oh yeah, that might work for me if it didn't work for her for that reason. It might actually work for me for the opposite reason, because I have different kids. So, first off the bat, what I've realized is I probably need a bigger table. Because I've got a lot more things than I thought, and I've only literally emptied the science area. So I thought I'd stop and just give you a quick rundown of what I think worked and what didn't work. And basically most of this worked because I love science, so I'm a little bit biased when it comes to that. But let me just give you a couple of highlights. This Mighty Microbes Lab, a couple of episodes ago, we did a science fair week with Hunter, and he really liked this. This is definitely a stay, because we're going to do this again. Now, these boxes have been really good. I got these from the bookstore. You can probably get them online. Like I did an episode on them. I think I showed them, it was a couple of months ago, I think, and I will put links to all the different episodes that I've shown some of these things in the description below, or at the end of the video, or maybe one of those tags up here somewhere. These have been really good. Now, did I use every single thing in them? No. As you'll know from my very first videos, I'm a very eclectic homeschool teacher, so I do tend to jot around. So no, I haven't used everything in them, but we've mainly used them for the experiments that come with them, to be honest. Could we get more in depth into them? Probably. I'm going to put that into a maybe, because I do find with my particular kitty that once he's sort of gone where he wanted to in it, he tends to not really want to go back. But they're a really nice resource, so I may even take the textbook out, add that to my library, which is this cupboard here. This is my kids' library box. No, it's not a box. It's a library cabinet. I'll add it to that, and then they can use it as a resource whenever they like. So that's a maybe. Okay, so the next thing is Circuit Maze. I don't think I've ever shown this on any of my programs. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I have, but I don't think so. This is an awesome game, and I think it's just a good game to have around. Basically what you're doing is you're getting these little cards, and the cards are telling that they give you sort of like a beginning circuit that isn't connected, and then you have to use these little sort of cube things to set up the circuit, and once you make it light up or make a noise, I think, then you've achieved that particular one. And it gets harder as they go along to make the circuit. For me, when my children were learning about circuits and electricity, this was an awesome tool. It's a lot of fun, and it's sort of one of those board game / sciencey things that you can keep all the time. So that's definitely a keeper. Obviously this is a keeper because even in high school, when we're going to go through things, then a microscope is always going to be a great thing to have. Comes with 72 specimens to have a look at. So even in high school, I think this is going to be one of those things you come back to quite often. So that's a keeper. Geomags, they're one of those things that the kids like to play with, make things. It's more of a filler sort of tool. So that's definitely a keeper. By the way, I got this from a secondhand sort of store. For $3, and these are really expensive usually, so that was a bonus. Circuit Scribe. Now I've definitely done a video on this. I will put a link again to this video. Circuit Scribe, again, when we were doing electricity, we used this as well. Excellent. Love this product. Really good resource. Again, you're drawing the circuits in and making sounds, movements and lights, so excellent resource, definitely keeping. All these little books, of course I'm going to keep those. I am a little bit of a book junkie, so I'll definitely be, and I've got many libraries around the house, that's just one of them. So I will definitely be keeping them. These books on Scratch and Python, Hunter goes through these basically by himself. He does have an online tutor when it comes to coding, but when he isn't using that resource, then he goes through these. He has finished Scratch. He's pretty much finished Python as well, but he will sometimes go back to them. This book, 30-Second Genetics, excellent resource. I've been looking through it. It sort of explains genetics in a very quick and easy to understand way. We have not touched on this, but I'm sure we're going to, so that's definitely a keeper. 365 Incredible Science Experiments, definitely a keeper. We have not actually even started any of these yet, although I presume we've done some. But if you're looking for science experiments to do with your child, then great opportunity to use. I have a little magnifying glass, obviously that's staying. Planetarium. Finished, done, it's going. This is glassstone art. I thought Sienna might really enjoy this, but she hasn't really been that interested in it. So I'm going to put that in the maybe. Now, the doodle crates, I definitely did an episode on this. I did tell you my kid's opinion. Hunter absolutely loves his and gets through his really quickly. Sienna has been a little bit hit and miss. These are creative, and I thought she'd really get into it. I'm going to see if she'll do them over the holidays because it's a nice fun thing to do, so she's not always stuck in her room on computers or doing nothing. So these for me are a great filler on the holidays, so I'm going to keep them, and obviously I paid a lot of money for them, so that's another reason to keep them. So that I think is my science out of the way. Well, I do have a chemistry set stuck right up the top, but I'm going to find it hard to get it out, so I'll wait for that one. So what I'll do is I'll put these away so I've got more room, and then I'll bring out the next thing so it's easier for you. I'm definitely keeping. The maybes are over on the floor and the going aways are underneath, plus the books, because I want to try and organize my closet a little bit better so that I can see everything and it's easier. So now I'm going to get the next sort of things out and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so I've emptied out the art part with a couple of ring-ins. So this one's kind of easy and messy, obviously, because we have quite a bit of art stuff. And most of it, I mean, even though Sienna's the more artistic one and she's gone back to school, she tends to sometimes do art on the weekends anyway. I will probably keep most of this, but I'll quickly go through it. Obviously the globe is more of the sciencey sort of based geography and that sort of thing, so I'm not going to get rid of a globe obviously, but I'll pop it back in there. Now we have also got some of our posters here. Obviously the periodic table, Hunter loves this one, so it's not something I can put up easy around the house, but maybe I can actually put it up in his room and he might like it there. So that's going to be a keeping it. I have sort of the geography and that sort of thing. Obviously I'm going to keep those ones. I have times tables and sort of just addition, adding fun, which I think is a really good thing to learn. These are parts of speech, so it's just talking about adjectives, nouns, pronouns, things like that. It's a quick reference, great to do if they're doing stories and things like that. Again, I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to put it up, but I sort of like them. This is the solar system, and then there's times tables. So I'll probably keep all these, albeit they're big and bulky and messy, but yeah, we'll keep. I don't know what to do with them. Let's just put them on the floor. Done. So then we've got more art stuff. So this is just one of those rolls I got at IKEA, and it just basically rolls out and I can use it for artwork or just, you know, sketching, fun stuff, whatever. So that's a stay. We have our doodle box, which is like all lots of bits and bobs. We had this out last week, I showed you. This one we tend to use quite a bit, even for making cards like we did in our Christmas fun episode. So that's a stay for sure. Again, we've got lots of little things here to make jewelry. I just keep them in these boxes. Some of the things the kids have made, look, you can't keep everything or you would be overrun with stuff. We've got our chemistry set, so this does get used. It is still falling apart and making a mess. It just keeps disintegrating because one of the chemicals spilled in there, which is not a good thing. So that will get kept because it's got quite a few cool experiments, albeit the book was half disintegrated. But maybe I'll just change over the thing so it fits nicer and it's not falling apart every time I pull it out. I have some material here that we use to do sort of various little activities and some styrofoam balls and things like that. That can go back. We keep that and we use it sort of sporadically over the time. Maybe not even for homeschool. Sometimes we use it for dress-ups, making stuff like that. This has got, well, this is like, I don't even want to go in there. This is a great little thing. It's like a little plastic thing you put down on the table to protect it when you're doing messy work, clay, that sort of thing. But these are really good, and then you can sort of just take them outside and wash them down. I wouldn't suggest you do it inside because they can get a bit messy, but definitely this is a stayer. As for everything else in here, I can already tell by looking at it, it's just sort of like bits and bobs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that separately and just clean it out, get rid of the stuff that I'm not using, and then hopefully I'll be able to put other things in there or make it a little bit neater so I know what's going on in there. So that's my sort of art area. I'm going to put back what I'm going to keep. I'm going to go through the other stuff and then I'll organize the next one. just like that, it's clean again. So basically what I did was I put everything into the big tub, put it back up there, much neater. I don't have anything cluttering my art area, and it's all in one container, so that's cool. Now, all the resources I'm finding, so all these glue sticks and pencils and sharpeners, all going to go in this bag for now, and at the end of this I'm going to then go through the bag, work out what I've got, again put it in one container that I can see, and then from now on when they need something new we check the container first, see if we have it already, and Sienna can use it also, the glue sticks and stuff for school, so she can do that. And so we're not buying extra stuff, and then whatever we've got a lot of, so these pastels, I'm going to give away to the Smith family. So the next one I'm going to clean out is a hard area, and this is most of the curriculum is in this area, so I'll do that now, and when I have it all out, I'll let you know. Okay, so I've cleaned out this side and this side. I'm definitely not going to fit that on the table as well, so I thought I'd stop there and tell you what's going on so far. Okay, there's a lot to get through. These tubs that I bought, one each for the kids, they tended to work the best. And in those they had everything they needed anyway. They both had a tub. As you know, kids love sharing, not. So it was easy. I don't use Sienna's because she went back to school, so we put that all in her pencil case and off she went. Hunter's, realistically, I need to go through this by itself and just clean it out, see what he needs replaced, but then he'll just use this. So that obviously is definitely a keeper, but I would like to go through that separately, so I'm not going to put it back in yet. Okay, so this is that writer's workshop that we used, and I did put that in a previous episode, and I'll put a link to that as well. But I am going to keep it. For a reason that I might tell you a bit later on in this episode, quite a big update, and there's going to be a massive new thing happening in our lives soon enough, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview to that maybe later on, and why I'm going to keep this. Alright, so I have a National Geographic in here. I have a subscription to National Geographic for the kids. The kids love these books. They tend to just kind of read them as they come in, like any magazine. I think it's really nice because it gives them a lot of fun knowledge, easy to read for kids, and they can also use these as a resource for research projects or cutting things out and making posters on particular subjects. So we get this every month, and I keep them in another place so they're not going in here. That just got in here. This is the Discover Down Under Geography for Kids. This is from Homeschooling Down Under. I did mention them in one of my first videos, I think. We're just going through this geography for kids. We've also done the Australian history. Obviously, Sienna didn't get to do this, but she's done some at school as well. And Hunter and I will continue with this when we get back. Geography is an ongoing thing, is it not? Just learning about where you live and the world is an ongoing thing, so this is definitely staying. Now, I had some of these resources that I purchased along the way, and you find as a homeschool mum or dad that you tend to see things and go, ooh, they'd be cool, and then you buy them and realize that you never use them. So this is going to go. I have Sienna's Myo brace very first pictures taken. Oh no, this is her one that she got when she just finished. So Sienna went through Myo brace over the last 2 years, and I have before and after shots. If anyone's interested in seeing that, I'm happy to show you in a very quick video before and after in the process. I can explain it. Just pop it down in the comments below. If I don't get any comments, I won't bother, but I do have 2 years of photos, and you can see the amazing transformation of my daughter's teeth. So that I've got to keep, but not here, obviously, in the homeschool closet. This is a fraction tile, so I bought these to help the kids get a visual, because my kids are especially my daughter is quite visual in her learning process, to get a visual of fractions so that she could understand how 1 and the fractions that fit into 1 were. This has been quite good because it does give a really good visual, and my son actually really used this as well, so it's a good teaching tool. I think I may just keep it around just in case with math. Now, the Life of Fred books. I did do a review on mathematics about Life of Fred. I did mention these books. These have been really quite good, and my kids have liked them. We haven't got through as much as I would have hoped, so what I'm thinking of doing is keeping them, going through with Hunter, and then when I finish with them, what I may do is potentially sell them because they are quite expensive, and they do keep their value quite well because a lot of people use them, so they will be kept. Now, I've got sort of one of these things with lots of different books in it. There's Ultimate Paper Planes. Again, that's one of those books that they will come back to quite often, so I'll keep that. I have, EDSCO. I'm going to be doing an episode very soon on sourcing curriculum for 2020, and EDSCO, which is a company that you can source material from here in Queensland, in Brisbane, is one of the things I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to keep this, and I may use this as a resource later on to explain in that video itself. So I think that's coming up next week or the week after, so stay tuned for that one. I've got all their math work. Now Hunter has finished, I think, all of these sheets bar a couple, which he's got a couple of grade 6 sheets left of Maths Mate, and I saved those especially for those couple of weeks before school starts so that he can just get a refresher and get him into the mood again, and then he'll start Maths Mate Year 7. Again, I did a thing on review on math, and I did mention the Maths Mate in it. These Maths Mate sheets are great. They're supposed to do them sort of once a week, once they've finished the week of math, and they do one of these. It has back and front questions, some worded questions, some numbered questions, sort of you're going through your times tables and division and that sort of thing at the front, and it's really good research source to just get it in their head and get a bit of practice after their week of math. So they're a great resource, and we will continue to use those. I will go through these books and just pick out a few maybe that I need to use for the Queensland Authority when I do my report. These little clipboards that they can use at school as well. You know, these clipboards that these are great when you're going out. So when we go to the museum and I have maybe something I want them to write at the museum or draw pictures, and you're doing an outing, these are great because they're hard. You can then put whatever you need to, paper or a book, onto it, and they can write or they can put it on their lap, and it's easy for them. So I find these a really great resource, and I definitely will keep that. This is the Wonder Pack. I did do a review when I was doing the English curriculum and how you can do it. Obviously, resources are going to be different for different books, but you can source a lot of book reporting resources on the web. So I highly suggest whatever book you're reading, go onto the web, Google the book, Google writing resources or book report resources for that particular book. You will find something that you can print out and use. This one was a student packet that we've used for the book Wonder, and it was a really great resource. Again, I'll probably use that for my reporting, so I will definitely keep this. Okay, so these books here, I have quite a lot of them, and I'm on the shelf at the moment of whether I think they're good or not. So when I first started homeschooling, I wanted a fun learning environment for my kids because they hadn't had the best experience, not so much my daughter, but my son hadn't had the best experience at school. So I really wanted to make learning fun for him. So I found a company, Fun Schooling, that does these programs. I basically printed it all off. I purchased the resource, I printed it all off, I got it bound, and I was going to use these a lot in my eclectic way of learning, but I found that I didn't use them nearly as much as I thought I was going to. That doesn't mean they're not a good resource, it just means that they didn't quite suit what I thought they would suit with us as much as I thought they would suit us. It's very much a self led learning. This is great resource for unschoolers. It's quite a good resource for eclectic homeschoolers like myself. And what it does is it basically leads the child through learning that particular science area. Just quickly, what you're supposed to do is you go to the library or you download some audio books, or however you have books, you might have them in your library already. You write the books you're going to use for botany, and then you use this book as a sort of resource to write all the stuff you learn in. And then it gives you little prompts, so reading time. Copy an interesting and important paragraph or list from your book. So you pick one of those 4 books, you get the page, and then you do copy work. So that's one thing that you're going to do is copy work, and that's a nice way that some people use to help their kids with writing skills. Then you're drawing pictures for all those kids who are more artistic. I found my son doesn't really like doing that, but my daughter did. Then it prompts you again. So the world of plants, draw a plant cell here and design a plant cell in Minecraft. So it does bring it to Minecraft. So again, they're drawing a plant cell there, and then they're asked to write some notes about that plant cell. How deeply you go into the notes is up to you and your child's ability. Then it wants you to watch a documentary on botany, draw a scene from the documentary, and write whether you liked it or not. Put a little review. So it's just getting writing skills and what you've learned. What you've learned from that, and a diagram again. Then it gives you science experiments and observations. It gives you little prompts again. Look online in science books for interesting plant-related experiments to do at home and write a little bit about it. And then it's asking them to draw a comic strip about botany. Then it comes to vocabulary. So then you're supposed to pick out 4 words with 10 letters or more from the book that you've read or the books that you've read. Write them in there and put their definitions. Designing, you're learning about the life cycle of plants. You've got colouring in, and then we go on to geography, the next subject. So, and then what they're supposed to do is do sort of like one of these every couple of weeks, go through and learn that, and then go on to the next part of the science. And each time, what it is designed to do is get the book, then go through the little prompts. Now that I'm looking back at this with you, it's a really good resource. And I wish I had have used it more, I must admit. But I think what happens is when you first start homeschooling, you get carried away in getting all this sort of material, especially if you're anything like me. As soon as you see something, you think, oh, that's going to be great. Then you have to actually do the reality of teaching each week. And that becomes harder when you're first starting. So now that I'm a little bit more developed in my homeschool approach, these may really come in handy. My only fear now is that they may be a little bit young for Hunter moving forward in high school. So I will keep these at the moment, and we will go through and have a look. I believe some of the topics are going to be great. Will he want to relate it back to Minecraft? Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to keep them, and I'm going to see. This is a maybe, but I will keep them. I have a travel one just on the United States. This is going to come in handy for that little thing I was talking about, but I'll give you a preview of that. I have a big announcement coming up in the new year. Another travel dream. Now these little ones that I have a whole stack of are for dyslexic. So these are mind games and puzzles. Basically what they're supposed to do is start at book 1 and go through to book 8. Now, this comes from dyslexicgames.com and the Thinking Tree. We did use these a little bit. The kids sort of found it weird because they were just doing this weird sort of stuff. Does it work? I don't know, to be honest. We didn't finish them. We didn't even get through, I think, the first 2 books. I probably won't use these, but because I spent a lot of money on them, and again, I bought these when I first started, I'm going to keep them. You know when you buy something, it costs you a lot of money, you're hoping it's going to work, you start using it, but you get sidetracked, and you only want to keep it because you've spent a lot of money on it. So I'm torn. This one I'm torn with because I don't know if Sienna's going to continue to do it. It's sort of, I mean, it's just doodling really, so there's not a hell of a lot of thinking in it, so maybe we'll keep it for now. Then I've got Hunter's box where he keeps all his stuff. Realistically, I just have to go through that and neaten it up and get ready for the new year. So that's the table as it is. I'm going to put away what I'm keeping. I'm going to put the stuff I'm going to go through later in piles, probably on the floor. And then I'll get with the next one. Okay, so I've put everything back in. I have placed it all so I can actually see it, because I find sometimes when it gets too busy in there, you sort of forget that you've got things, and maybe that's half the problem why I haven't used these certain things, because you forget you've got them and then you do other stuff. So I've taken out the rest of that area, which is all the resources. There's not a lot to talk about. In regard to what I've got here. Really, it's just going through some of my resources, like, should I say stocks of things, and just tidying up, seeing what I've got, you know what I mean? Because what happens is I've got this whole bag of stuff, you know, pens and all that sort of stuff that I've shown you, and then I've also got these tubs, and in there are also highlighters, rubbers, lots of things. So what I need to do is go through all of that, have it in one particular tub that I can see. I know that if I need something new, I go to that tub. I look to see if I already have it before I purchase it again, because I have a lot of excess stuff I don't need. So this tub of lots of stuff and this bag of lots of stuff are going to be looked through like a fine-tooth comb, and everything is going to be sorted in a way that I don't have a lot of things and I'm not buying anything new. Giant deck of cards. Weird resource, I know. Great resource. If you have a deck of cards at home, it doesn't need to be a giant one. I do have little ones, but the kids like novelty things, don't they? Hard to shuffle though, I must admit, even for someone with big hands like me. But you can use cards in a lot of different ways, not just for card games. You can use it for math as well, and probability. My son learns a lot about probability by playing 21 or blackjack, whatever you want to call it, and loves to do so. So I don't condone gambling at all, but it's a great fun way if your child likes these sort of things to learn mathematical ideas and that sort of thing. So cards, they can also be used for, you know, fun games with the kids when they're not doing schoolwork. Just a fun little resource to have. So a pack of cards to me is a little handy thing to have. I'm going to put that in the math little pile I'm making there. Again, stuff. I've just got stuff that I'm collecting. I'll put that down there because that is a game, and I'm going to go through the games in a minute. I have kinetic sand. Now both of my children are very sensory, especially Sienna, and what I find is this kinetic sand is very tactile. You can hide things in it and they can find them. It's fun little games. It's also, if they're listening to an audio book or they're listening to me read something or teach something, sometimes it's nice to have something like kinetic sand on the table that they can play with at the same time. Now, if you have one of those children who is very sensory and likes to fiddle with things, and if they're learning, you don't want them to fiddle with something that is loud. My children have a lot of fiddle toys. You will see we have little things that click and make some noise that they can play with. We have sensory brushes that are supposed, oh, that does feel nice, that are supposed to give that sensation. It is all about that sensory processing and being able to concentrate. So some children do well if they are playing with things as they're learning, because it helps their brain to concentrate. I know that sounds like it's the opposite way that it should be, but some children are like that, and my daughter especially is very sensory, and she does tend to learn better if she's fiddling with something. So these are the sort of things I have for that. Of course I'm going to keep those because they do use them quite a bit, and also they're just fun things to have for the kids. These kinetic sands are really cool. I've noticed now you can get snow one, which is really nice, but it does leave a weird texture on your hands afterwards, whereas this doesn't, although it does make a little bit of a mess if you have children like mine. And I have the Australian history thing that I was talking to you about, which I'm pretty sure I did a little review on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I haven't and you want one, I can do one. Again, these are not just standalone. You're not going to do this and nothing else. You would use this together with something else. And games. I've got a lot of games. I'm going to go through all those next. We've finished this, so I won't be keeping this. This is going to go to a new home. And then I've got a lot of folders. I tend to keep everything in a folder so that I know all. So that's Sienna's work folder, that's Hunter's work folder. So I'm keeping along the way, and I did do on reporting for your homeschool authority video. What I do is I keep things every now and then. If they do something, I'll keep it in one of these folders because I know I'm going to come back and use that probably in my reporting. Just a handy way as you're going along the year to keep some of that stuff that you think you're going to use, especially if you're doing a project that has, you know, a rough draft and an end draft, because they're the sort of things your reporting people want to see. Keep them in a separate folder, then you know where to come to when it's reporting time, and it's easy. You don't have to flick through all the work they've done over the year to find what you need. You've already got it in a handy pack. Some of my resources that I keep on hand, I've got all the curriculum for the years of school from the Australian curriculum, so I know what the kids are up to. Now, I will go into this a little bit more in my Finding Curriculum episode. I have done one before, right back at the start when I first started my channel, but I'm about to do another one in the next 1 or 2 weeks. It will be up. So I'm just doing that at the moment. I will go into these a little bit more there, but that is just curriculum, Australian curriculum. And if you're in another country, you will probably have either a state or a territory curriculum or a government curriculum of some sort, or your area curriculum that you can probably find online. Most places have them. And if you don't know what to teach your children, it's a great place to start because you can see what other children are doing of the same year level or age group area, and you can just follow along with that if you have no other ideas to do it. We'll go through that again in the episode coming up. What I'm going to do next is the games area, see what I'm keeping out of the games, and I really want to have a dedicated area for just board games and games in general, so that if my children are doing anything for homeschool time, or my son, that he can come and pick out a game that he wants to play. And also, if my kids are on the weekend or have friends over and want to play games, they know exactly where to come, and it's neat because at the moment, it's messy. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so I took all the games out. What I realized, like I said before, is at the back there is a lot of books that I haven't used for a while. Because I forgot they were even there. So that's why I'm doing this, because I really want to get my head nice and clear and organized before 2020 school year starts, and this is a great time to do it. So I found a lot of books that I'm going to pop in this one. Some of the books that we've read together in homeschool, we read some of the Goosebumps books because they are quite short. We have quite a big collection of Goosebumps books. After Hunter saw the movie, he was just in love with Goosebumps books. So we purchased a whole stack of them and we just read through. Like I said, they're quite short and they're not hard books to read. They might be a little bit scary for little ones, so just, work out whether they're right for your child or not. Other books that we've read in homeschool that I highly recommend, and this is a bit weird. This is the Minecraft. It's called Minecraft the Island. It's from Max Brooks, who is also the author of World War Z. If you've read that book or seen that movie, you'll know who I'm talking about. This book, wow, what a surprise. I thought this was going to be really annoying and boring. Very sort of directed at my son, but that Sienna and I were going to sort of fall asleep to it because we're not really into Minecraft. I was so mistaken. It is an excellent book. It has so many lessons, life lessons for your children in this book, to the point where at the end of the book, he literally lists the lessons that he's learned from being in Minecraft. And I'm not going to tell you about the story, but no, I'm not going to tell you anything about the story. It is a really great read, so I do highly recommend this book. Again, it's a Mojang book. It's from Minecraft. It's called The Island, and it's from the author of World War Z, Max Brooks. Excellent. Another book that we've read is The Lion, the Witch of the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. You would all know this book, I presume. It's from the Chronicles of Narnia. Another great book. Obviously very different, but both of them excellent books to read. So there's some of the books that we have read in our last year of homeschooling. So I have a lot of games here, and most of them I'm going to keep because they all do come in handy, even when you're playing games with the family. If it's, you know, having a family games day, a lot of these are fun. Or if kids come over and stay and they've got nothing to do, you can pull out the games and they can play along with them. Now, most of this stuff I'm going to keep, other than the junior stuff, which I'm going to regift, and I'm going to put it back in this area so it's easy for the kids to find when they're looking for a game. And then I've got a few books there that are left that I'm going to work out whether I'm putting in my library or not, in my education library, and then I'm almost done. So I did a little bit of maneuvering around and I managed to get all the games into this one section here. You can basically see all the games, so whatever they want they can grab. They're not fossicking through, because I find as soon as you're fossicking through, sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath, then it tends to get messy. So that's easy. So now I'm left with a pile of books. I also purchased the NAPLAN test pack Year 7, because the kids are going into Year 7. I am not necessarily going to do NAPLAN, but it's nice to see what they're doing, and I thought I might have a look at it. Maybe it can be just a resource. It comes in like a little pack. I did purchase it. I will do a future episode once I've had a look, and then I can review it properly and see what I'm going to do with it. That's it. This is just more stuff that I need to go through. I'm going to put these books, what I'm keeping, back into my educational library that I've created down at the bottom, and that's pretty much it. I'll get that done and I'll come back to you. So I thought I'd just give you a little close-up, just in case you were wondering what it looked like and you couldn't see very well. This is all that art supply material up the top. Then I've got all the science projects and stuff in there, as well as my globe. I have all their board games down there, easily accessible, so that they can get everything out. Whoops. And then on this bottom one, I have the book library. So educational book library, they can see everything. These cupboards are very deep. So I've also used the basket that I had before for their tutor workbooks, so that when their tutors come, they can just grab this out and off they go with the tutor, and they can run through what they've got. And that's it. I have realistically taken back half my cupboard, as you can see, which I can now use for other things around the house, like linen, and whatever else I can fill it with. I'm sure I'll find something. But at least now that my homeschool is a little bit neater, it's going to be way easier to run. And also for the weekends and when my kids just want to do fun stuff, it's easy for them to get to. So that was me organising for 2020 and cleaning out my homeschool closet. I realised is over the years how much money I've spent on lots of things. Some of them that I haven't used or I've used very minimal. So what I'm taking away from that and what I'd like to tell you is maybe start really basic when you first start homeschooling, like really basic. I know it's so easy to get wrapped up in that sort of, oh, I want to get this and I want this and I want this. Very easy too, I did. But then you don't use it and you're using a lot of money and then you're not using the product that you purchase. So maybe start simple, see what you need along the way and then buy what you need, and then you know you're going to use it and you're going to get a benefit from it. So now that I have cleared out my 2019 year of curriculum and I'm ready for 2020 new homeschool year, now is a great time to source new curriculum and go through finding and getting the curriculum that you need for your child. So what I have been working on is another sourcing of curriculum episode that I will bring out either next week or the week after. And that is going to go through a step-by-step process of how to find curriculum for your child. Now I did do, like I said before, a curriculum episode right back when I started. If you wanted to start there, and then in the next 2 weeks I will have a new one. It will cover some of that, but it will also cover some more in-depth sort of thinking that you may need to go through to source curriculum for your child. I have a few subscribers asking for it, so it's a great time to do it, and it's a great time of year to do it because we're starting 2020 soon. So there you have it, guys. That was my 2019 curriculum review, recap, overview, however you want to call it. I hope some of you found this helpful, or like I promised earlier, I have some big news coming up in the next sort of month. I'm not sure when I'm going to put it out there, but it does involve sort of travel. It does involve at least organization of travel. And it's going to have to shift the way I homeschool, or road school, shall I say. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you any more than that. You will see in a coming episode, I'm going to talk all about my new year. I'm going to give you an overview of everything I'm going to do over 2020. So until next week, if you haven't already or you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And if you've liked this video, please hit the like button. I will see you next week with a brand new video. But until then, have a great, happy, and safe New Year's Eve, guys. See ya.